And myself, and that we are very grateful to have had this opportunity to visit BEREC and have discussions about some of the more important and strategic telecom issues that we are facing now. That is how to create the best possible European networks, the best possible telecom structure in Europe, how we can learn from experiences. We have looked upon what is happening now with telecom issues, especially regarding roaming, but also net neutrality. And maybe I think one can say that our discussions have been extremely much focusing on how to achieve a good and better competition in order to enhance investments in the European infrastructure. Learning a lot from Latvia, learning a lot from our hosts, the chair of BEREC, Mrs. Barroso, and I would like to say extremely good discussions for the future. We have very good opportunities to take the right steps if we have the right sense of reality and the right sense of ideas on how to proceed. And I think our discussion here has dealt with both of these sides. I would like to ask my colleague from European Parliament if they would like to add something, and then I guess the chair of BEREC would like to say some words as well. Please, Mrs. Grant.
Yeah, I only thank you very much for the invitation. I only want to add that from the European Parliament's view, the discussion on the digital single market is a very important one, and how to come to it and how to support investment, how to protect consumers, and how to develop the new Industry 4.0. These are the big issues in the next months and years, I think. And the discussion with BEREC today was, for me, it was very interesting to get some other aspects for the discussion and for the decision-making process in the European Parliament. And I hope that we can find a way for the users, for the consumers on one side, and for the other side, for the investment and for the small and medium enterprises, depending on a wise investment in the telecommunication system in Europe, to find the best solution. I think this was a very important day for the European Parliament as well, and for our committee, for the Industrial Committee.
Yes, friends.
Es atļaušos latviski runāt. Eiropas parlamentā šobrīd mēs strādājam pie regulācijas, pie tā saucamās vienotā telekomunikāciju tirgus, telekom single market PSE. Un šeit ir jautājums, kāds būtu jāpieņem regulējums tā, lai telekomunikāciju un internetu tirgus varētu Eiropā attīstīties, lai būtu lielāka konkurences starp uzņēmumiem, tā, lai patērētājiem būtu pēc iespējas labākas kvalitātes pakalpojums par iespējams vislētāko cenu. Un divi aspekti, kas tiek ļoti debatēti šobrīd gan parlamentā, gan padomē, ir par to saucamo tīklu neitralitāti. Tātad kādā veidā ierobežot vai neierobežot piekļuvi tīklam. Un ir runa gan par patērētāju, teiksim, ka cilvēkiem būtu brīvi pieeja visam, bet arī pakalpojums sniedzējiem. Ka tas uzņēmums, tas cilvēks vai cilvēku grupa, kas izgatavo jaunu, teiksim, aplikāciju, ka viņam nebūtu nekāda šķēršļa tik pie patērētājiem par visu Eiropas Savienību. Un otrs jautājums, par ko runā ļoti daudz, ir par viesabonēšanas izmaksu samazināšanu. Tātad, kad mēs kurš ceļojam ārpus savas dalībvalstis, ka tās izmaksas, ko mēs maksājam gan par telefonu izmantošanu ar zvanu, vai ko mēs izmantojam pārējos datus, ka šī cena būtu pēc iespējas zemāka. Un šeit tas izaicinājums ir, kā mēs varam samazināt tās izmaksas patērētājiem, vienlaikus neceļot abonēšanas maksas dalībvalstis. Tas jau būtu absurdi, lai, teiksim, tādi kā mēs, kas Eiropas parlamentā daudz ceļojam, lai mums būtu lētākas izmaksas ārzemēs, ka mājās Latvijā cilvēki maksā dārgāk, un to mēs, protams, neatbalstām. Un mēs šodien ar Eiropas regulātoru šajos jautājumos tieši pārnājam šos jautājumus, cenšamies saprast, kādi lēmumi būtu tie pareizie, ko pieņemt tā, lai gan patērētāji būtu apmierināti, bet lai industrija joprojām būtu interesi ieguldīt tīklu un infrastruktūras attīstībā.
I totally agree.
I do also very much, not the least with the last spoken here. Although my Latvian isn't the perfect. So please, the floor is...
Well, I would like just to address some small words. As BEREC chair, I would like to say that on behalf of all the BEREC members, we are very pleased to welcome the European Parliament members here in Riga, where is the home of BEREC office, and we had the opportunity to exchange some views to explain what is the role of BEREC, what are the activities that we do in order to achieve a single market for telecommunications in Europe, and at the same time to develop all the services and networks that will benefit the European consumers and, of course, also the businesses in Europe. It was a very important discussion. I believe it was also a way to open the cooperation that we can have between BEREC and the European Parliament. BEREC is very keen to give all support and advice to the European institutions, and we have, of course, an open door to all the discussions that the European Parliament would like to address to us and to share our expertise as well. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
So now,
anyone would like to ask for further reflections about this?
Vai joprojām ir jautājums par šo maksu atcelšanu vispār, vai arī šis jautājums tik pilnībā neņemts no dienas kārtības, un par kādiem scenārijiem, ja mēs runājam par viesabonēšanu samazināšanu, kādi scenāriji šobrīd tiek, ir dienas kārtībā, un cik tādi ir pārcījušies.
So I wanted to ask a question about the current state of play with regard to the discussion on data or roaming costs in general. I mean, how far have you got with this discussion? Are there any plans to phase out the roaming costs? Are you going to ban the roaming costs? Or this discussion has been postponed or has stopped? So what is going on at the moment with regard to the roaming costs? Any scenarios being discussed about the amount of the roaming costs or banning of roaming costs? So what is happening with roaming costs in general?
Mr. Curtis, would you like to start with the Latvian and then we can fill on from this?
Sure. Tātad ir sākusies procedūra, kur Eiropas parlaments kopā ar dalībvalstīm tagad cenšas vienoties par vienotu pieeju, par vienotu tekstu, lai šī regula varētu stāties spēkā. To Latvijas prezidentūra ir panākusi, ka šīs sarunas ir sākušās. Pirmās bija 23. martā, nākamās ir paredzētas 21. aprīlī, un ir cerība, ka līdz jāņem, līdz gada vidum būtu galīga vienošanās par šo jautājumu. Viņš šobrīd izskatās tā, ka arī kā BEREC savā analīzē norāda, ka ja mēs viesabonēšanu, tas izmaksas patērētājiem vienkārši likvidētu, tas nozīmētu, ka kaut kur citur celtos izmaksas, un tas nozīmētu vietējā tirgu. Un tas nav vēlams rezultāts. Tātad tiek strādāts pie tā, kādā veidā varētu samazināt, varbūt ne pilnībā likvidēt, bet turpmāk samazināt, neceļot cenas ciklu. Un tas izrādās tas izaicinājums, jo, protams, tam ir uzņēmumiem, tās ir zināmas izmaksas, un kādam par to jāmaksā. Šobrīd maksā tie, kuri ceļo, vēlme būtu atrast to līdzsvaru starp patērētāju interesēm, tiem, kas ceļo, bez tā, ka cilvēkiem mājās būtu jāceļ parasti tarifu uzaugt.
I didn't understand anything, that's why I don't know what you said.
I can translate myself.
Yes, correct.
I'll attempt, so I'll improve what I said. The summary I said is that we have had the first trialogue opened on 23rd March, the next one is set for 21 April. We're in the process of trying to find a common position between Parliament and the Council. Regarding roaming costs, we need to differentiate roaming charges from roaming costs, so there is an inherent cost for the industry. What we're trying to find is the balance so that if we were to reduce the charges to the consumer, we don't raise the charges for the people at home. And it's that balance which is being sought right now.
Yeah, it's not necessary to add something from my side. The only thing maybe that I have the impression that the people living in the European Union think that we can cut completely the roaming cost and not increase something else. And this creates the problems in the negotiation between the Council and the European Parliament. And at the end, somebody must explain a compromise. But I'm quite sure that we have to find and that we will find a compromise.
May I add very shortly to that as long as there are costs for roaming, as long as Latvian operators need to pay to a foreign operator, then of course these costs must be covered. What we can do is to secure that the charging is as low as possible. But I don't want to have the fact that domestic users who are only using the mobile phone for domestic purposes are to pay for the foreign calls for others, as long as there are costs. I want the domestic price to be as low as possible, and then those who are having the nice thing to go abroad to Portugal or do it in their jobs have to pay what the real costs are. And I think we are coming close to that level now, where we pay the real cost, but not very much more than that.
Yes. Well, I should say that in BEREC we have an opinion on roaming that is the compromise of the 28 member states, and this opinion was support for the work that has been done by the Council, and now for the trialogue between the Council, the Commission and the European Parliament. And we also believe that we must find a balanced solution, because there are some costs that you cannot avoid, and they are related to roaming. So you must avoid the situation where the European citizens that do not travel must pay higher prices in their domestic markets to compensate those costs of roaming that would be eliminated. I believe that the proposal that is now on discussion, that ensures a basic allowance where consumers can do a minimum consumption at the same prices they have at home, will allow those people that travel to have access to some communications without extra costs. And this allows for, I think, a fair solution. On the other side, they must pay for the costs that are related to providing roaming services, but as was said, these costs must be as low as possible. So far, I think we are in the good path.
Has there been any particular discussion on the amount of the allowances? I mean, any numbers have been identified?
If I may go straight in on that issue, in the European Union, we have different price levels on different domestic markets. There are different price levels in Spain than in Latvia, or in Sweden, or in Germany. And if I am going from Sweden to Latvia, it is only fair that I pay the Swedish operator what it costs to pay the Latvian operator. And if the prices are higher in Spain than in Sweden, it's not fair that the Swedish operator shall lose money because I'm phoning from the beach in Spain instead of from the streets in Stockholm. So there must be fairness, but based upon as low charging as possible. Sorry, Mr. Karim and Mrs. Krell and then Mrs. Barrows.
Ir dažādi priekšlikumi, kādā veidā varētu šo jautājumu atrisināt. Nav nekas nolemts, bet ir viena iespēja varētu būt, piemēram, zinām daudzu minūtes, katru dienu zinām dienas skaitu varētu būt līdzīgi kā mājas tarifā. Nu, teiksim, 5 sarunas uz 5 dienām, vai 5 minūtes uz 5 dienām, vai tas būtu 7, vai tas būtu 10. Šī ir viena iespēja, kas tiek piedāvāta, bet tā vēl nav gala iespēja. I'll quickly translate that. There are a number of proposals out on the table, and they're along the lines of a certain number of minutes or a certain number of calls for a certain number of days paying your own fee. So whether it would be 5 calls or 5 minutes for 5 days or a number 7 or a number 10, this is one of the possibilities being discussed, but nothing has yet been decided.
At the BEREC level, we don't have any proposal in terms. We believe that this is something that must be decided at the European institution level. However, we provide the institutions with all the information we have about the consumption level in the European member states. So this gives a good picture of what are the profiles of consumption in the different countries, and we believe this is an important tool for policy making decisions.
Pēdējais jautājums no manis ir, Latvija nevienīgi pagājušajā gadā tika samazināta viesabonēšanas maksas noteikšanai, vai šogad arī plānotas ir šo maksu?
If I remember correctly, last year you removed any thresholds or you reduced the threshold, the maximum threshold for the roaming fee. Are you planning to reduce it further this year? Any plans regarding that?
The idea was to come to the price for roaming to 0. But this was the position, or is the position of the European Parliament. Now we are in negotiation with the Commission and Council to find a way, because the Council has a completely other idea for solving the problem. And the end will be a compromise. I think it will be less, the roaming cost will be less than now, but it will not come up to 0. But nobody can tell you in the moment which compromise we will raise in the next weeks or months and when it will come into force.
So, do you want me? Well, let me explain something. Last year we reduced the roaming charges because this was part of the agreement for roaming. It's not planned any further reduction as it was done in the previous years. However, according to what has been discussed and according to the Council proposal that is now under discussion, what you have is that people will pay the tariff they pay at home plus a surcharge that will be limited by a certain cap that is already defined. So this is what is in place, and this will imply a very strong reduction on the charges that European consumers will pay for roaming. And this reduction can attain some levels like 40%.
And you can say that this solution is not based upon setting a special price. It's adapting to the different prices you have. For example, when a Latvian is in Belgium, which happens, the costs for telephone calls in Belgium are higher than in Latvia. Then it's not fair that the Latvian operator shall pay more money to the Belgian operator than the Latvian customer, be it Mr. Karins, for example, pays to the operator, because that means that would undermine the operator's opportunities to invest in Latvia or to keep low prices for all Latvians. Anyone else? May I just say one thing that we concluded with here? It's fantastic to be here in Riga, because Riga is, in these days, one of the capitals of Europe. And it's fantastic to discuss one of the most modern parts of our European industry, with BEREC having its office here in Riga. For me as a Swede, this is very fascinating and fantastic, and I think that's worth special underlining as such. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good.